Okay, welcome to this EverQuest Legends tutorial that just came out a couple weeks ago and is getting quite a bit of interest from people who originally played the game and from some people that want to get into the game. It is a reimagining of the original EverQuest game, but it also has the original graphics you can see right here, classic. So they're kind of emulating what Worlds of Warcraft did. They're offering the classic version, but with some pretty big changes, and we're going to talk about those changes. And they are I've read some of the stuff that they've put out. They are going to put out some expansions. This has been much more popular than they originally thought. And a lot of people are joining this, so you might get a message that says there might be high server traffic. So far, I haven't had too many problems connecting. I have seen a lot of people playing the game, which is good because this was one of the great games, MMOs of all time. I shouldn't say was, is. The other thing is I want to point out that this game really in 1999, kind of the same thing. I don't think they thought it would be the hit it ultimately became, but it became a huge hit and spawned several, I don't want to use the word copycats, but Worlds of Warcraft came out and was a very similar style, but a lot of people left Worlds of Warcraft and never came back. Well, this is probably going to reboot EverQuest, and I think it's going to be very successful with the changes they've made. And so far, I got to say, I really like them. Okay, so you can pick any of these servers. I do want to point out right now, there's a 1 character limit per server. So just keep that in mind. They may change that in the future, but currently you only get 1 character. So if you start a character on Hallis, that's all you get. If you want to do a different character or different, whatever, you have to go over to Freeport. So just keep that in mind. Okay. All right. So let's go ahead. I'm going to connect to Hallis because I haven't been on there yet. So we'll just connect there. I could quickly connect to Rivervale, which was the last one. I kind of like how they did this. That was the last one I was on. But we're going to go ahead and go to Hallis first to talk about the game and how it works. Okay, I think I got cut off there. The recording stopped for a second, but nonetheless, what I was saying was the biggest change that you're going to notice when you first come in here is that this is a multi-class game. They say that right away. I suggest you do read this, though. We are going to be going through a lot of these points. And let's just briefly talk about these, but we will discuss these further. As you create your character, you can choose 1 primary class right here and 1 secondary class from the tabs in the class section right here. Okay. That is probably the most important, biggest change yet. So you can basically become 2 classes, and think about how powerful that can make you. Extremely powerful, because now you can fight mobs and go to areas that you previously couldn't go to alone. And that really is the key difference between the original EverQuest and this version, is that it was very difficult to go through the end game to solo that, or in some, if you went to some areas, you actually had to be into raids. Now you still have to do raids. It's not that you don't. And you definitely have the ability to go a lot of areas that you could not go to before and solo those just with your class combinations, because now you can be a tank and caster at the same time. Think about how powerful that is. Let's go this part. You will be able to use the class loadout system. I'm not going to talk much about that right now because we are going to talk about it. But there is a loadout system. We will be dealing with that shortly. Each class tracks its own level and experience up to level 10. All of your classes will level together, and each receives the full experience you earn. So that's pretty self-explanatory. After reaching a level 11, only the classes currently being utilized will gain experience. And what that means is, it's pretty self-explanatory. If you have like a loadout that you're not using, it has a different class than your current loadout, that's obviously not going to get any experience. So just keep that in mind. And we'll talk more about that. Experience is never split. Each active class always receives the full amount it is eligible for. If you change your class loadout after level 10, your character level will adjust to the lowest level among the selected classes. Your experience will then advance. I wouldn't worry so much about this. The big thing, though, is to worry about what classes that you select early on. Now, there's a lot of discussion what some of those powerful classes are. You can go out and Google those, but the general consensus is that you want to be a warrior, and sort of combine like a warrior, maybe a bard, and a cleric. But there's a lot of other ones. Some people will go for Shadow Knight, like a big tank. You have to have a big tank, and then combine that with like a bard or a caster like a cleric. That's sort of the default thing that's going on right now. But you can go out and Google those. You can also try your own combinations. It's not that you can't, you can't go anywhere, or it might be a little bit less powerful. But just in terms of the solo experience, yes, you probably want to think about having a tank and some sort of caster combined. Okay, so now that we got that out of the way, the biggest difference between the primary and the secondary, the biggest difference, is that the primary adheres to the race class, the original race class combinations from EverQuest. So for instance, if I want to be a Shadow Knight, well, that is a wood elf. I'm sorry, a half elf cannot be a Shadow Knight. I've got to go select an Ixar or something like that offers that original EverQuest race class combination. So that is the biggest difference between your primary and secondary. Just keep that in mind. The secondary does not have that restriction, and I'll show you that in a minute. So let's go ahead. Let's start out with a half elf, and we're going to select a warrior. Okay, we're going to go ahead and select a warrior. We're going to make that our primary. Now, look what happens when I come over to my secondary. Now I can pretty much select anything. And let's go ahead and select a necromancer. So this is something obviously you could not do before. And you'll notice how it updates it now. So here's our primary. Here is our secondary. So we're a warrior, necromancer combination. Okay. It says here we're starting out in East Freeport. And here's our deity. Remember, you can select the deities too. That's pretty much it. Let's randomize the name. We're going to go in here. Now, I do want to point out that at level 11, you can actually pick a third class. Think about that. That's awesome. But there is going to be a big change as well that is not so nice, and I will tell you about that in a minute. So let's go ahead and go into the world now. We've got both our classes selected, so we are good to go. So let's enter into the world. And now when you come in here, tutorial, and you're going to see somebody named Doug. That is not part of the original tutorial. They created a new one, and I think it's actually kind of better in a way. Once this loads, it's taking a little bit. It's going to load up. Usual. Okay. And that is... Okay, so we came in there. Finally, that took a while. All right. So when you first come in here, this is the new tutorial that they've offered. And so you're going to be in this like area. You can't get out of it. There is one way to get out of it. I will tell you how. So there you can see, I call them the Dougs. There they are. And there's another Doug. There's Dougs around here. Not sure why they found that funny. That was the name they could come up with, Doug. Okay, so a bunch of Dougs here. But first, let's talk about, let's not worry about Doug right now. Let's go back here, and we're going to talk about some things. So first thing is you can drag any screen you want. That's the important thing. We can drag any of these around. You can also close them. So for instance, like if you didn't want the extended target, we can close that. I don't usually use that a lot right now. This is the what you target. So if I target myself, I'll show up here, but this is our main health. We've got our health, our stamina, stamina here, mana, and I'll show you there's some other things here as well. Okay, so so here's the inventory. Let's just close that out here for a minute. We'll come back to it. This is also new to the game, and we are going to talk about this. These are stances and invocations. We are going to talk about this, how this works in a little bit. So yeah, again, you can resize these windows appropriately how you want them. The main thing I do when I first start out is I want to separate the chat and combat. I hate, and you kind of have to get this right. Let's see, I forget. See, it makes it. They don't make it easy to. There, okay. So you have to sort of finagle this. But what you want to do, if you, I don't like, because I don't like switching back and forth. So I actually detach the combat and the main combat, and then you can drag these where they want. Because I want to see both the messages for these. I don't want to have to keep sort of moving in between these. So, and again, you can rearrange this the way you want. But I definitely like to do that. Now, the other thing is. You will see this is where, and again, since I'm a necromancer and a warrior, now as a warrior, I never would have had this before, but here I've got some necromancer spells that I can use. So, for instance, if I want, if I want to get a pet now, I can get a pet. Let's cast this. I mean, no way you could have done this before. I think it fizzled. Yeah, it fizzled. And we get a lot of fizzles early on, but let's see if we can cast them. I think we have some bones. So look at this. As a warrior, now I've got a pet. And if you zoom out, we can see him somewhere. I don't know where he's at. Oh, it was interrupted. We're not going to worry about that now. And again, it's just like the old EverQuest, you can zoom out, you can zoom in. Let's just zoom in, but I am mostly zoomed out when I play. But you can, of course, zoom in just like you could in the old. In fact, we'll just keep it like this. All right, so and if you want to get rid of, so this is all the spells you can hold. You can hold 8 of them. If you want to get rid of them, you just right click. If you want to add it back, it's very simple. You just come here, and I really like this. You can add life tap right back. It'll open up your spell book, and it will sort of think about it like a meditation before it adds it in. You can see the purple, there's the countdown, and it will add it in. There you go. It's that simple. And so that allows you to rearrange these. I usually put cavorting bones like down here and some of my attack spells up here, but you can do it, however you want. Let's actually move this. This is bothering me for some reason. Let's just move this down. And let's move this up, this up. Let's move this down, move this down, move this down. Okay. Don't know why that's bothering me, but it is. Okay. So that's the first thing. All right. So now let's talk about the class loadouts. Very, very important. How do you access that? Well, you hit the I button and you'll pull up your inventory, and here is the new loadouts. So you can see right here, I've got a primary class as a warrior. I've got a necromancer. And this is the key thing early on. You can change these. So I can add now, let's say, I didn't like that necromancer thing. You can either edit it or you can change it altogether. So I can go ahead and edit this and say, you know what, I didn't like that. I'm sorry. You can actually add a new one. Sorry. So I think there is a way to actually select a secondary on here. I haven't done that yet. I thought there was a way to do that. But in any event, it doesn't really matter because I usually keep these loadouts, so we can add another loadout. That was the point I was trying to make. So you can select. We can select, for instance, a let's select a druid. We wanted a druid this time. Okay, so you can do that, and then you can go into additional and we want a druid necromancer. Let's just say that. Okay, let's go ahead and save it, and it says select a valid race. Now, keep in mind, you still have to have the original, you still are bound by those original, for the primary, you're still bound by those original race class combinations. So that's what that's saying. You can't save this until you have this guy selected, which we did. All right. So now we got to go back. Let's select the necromancer. And now we should be good to save this loadout. And look, we've got this loadout. We can add up to 3 loadouts originally. So let's do, and notice since I'm in, I can't just switch to, because I'm obviously I'm in the area where you can only add half elves right now. So I'm not in, I didn't go to the Ixar city, so I can't just select an Ixar. Okay, so that's why you are. So that is one restriction. Just keep that in mind. All right. So let's select, let's say we want to be a bard this time. Let's select a monk. So that's the combination we're gonna do. We're gonna hit save. Oh yeah, it's gonna ask you to select the race again. Okay, so you gotta go back here, boom, and now we've got 3 different loadouts with different primaries. So again, very powerful, and we can actually swap them. So like right now, we're on this warrior necromancer. Let's go over to the druid. Let's swap it and watch what happens. Now I am the druid. Did you see how that worked? Now I am the druid. And we've got all, let's go ahead and add, what do we get? We get all the druid stuff. Look at this. We get, what do we got here? Okay, we get snare. Look at this. We've got the necromancer, and we've got the, let's do minor healing or something. I don't know. Yeah, so we're getting that in here. So that's how that swapping works. Now, I do want to point out something very important. Let's go back here. Let's go back to loadouts. At a level 11, I mentioned that you will actually get the ability to pick a 3rd class. I think they call it tertiary. So how awesome is that? But there is a big thing they are going to change. You are also going to be forced to select a 1 primary class. So I can't keep all these. I will need to make all of these warriors. You will be forced to do that. So just keep that in mind. However, and you will be locked. So for instance, you think about that wisely. So for instance, if I say that I want a warrior, that's it. My primary class is now warrior. I can go back and switch these after level 11, but I cannot switch the primary class. That will be the that will remain the same. Here is the caveat though. When you get to level 50, you reach level 50, you will get a token that will unlock a 2nd primary class. So then you will be able to actually pick 1 more primary class. The other thing is, I think if you complete, I forget what it is now. There's another way to do it too, to get another primary class. I forget what it is offhand. But so just keep that in mind though. So that's the big difference. So when you reach level 11, you will be forced to pick a primary class. But it's sort of like a kind of like a win-lose type of thing. I would say mostly win, though, because you get to pick a 3rd class and get the benefits of that class. Okay? So that's how that works. And then, some of the things are still the same. Like one thing I like to do early on is redo the controls a little bit. If you come to key bindings, and if you come, I like to switch around the UI a little bit, especially like inventory. Some of these windows I want to open faster. For instance, like inventory, you can see I map that to the npad 0, so I can get to that quicker. I don't want to have to look for I. If you just select this alternate thing here, it'll allow you to remap some of these keys. So I do that quite a bit. But pretty much, things are very similar. Now, that's that. But we do have much more to talk about. And the one thing I do want to talk about is the stances and the invocation. So this is important to understand how this works. Actually, before we do that, let's actually get out of here. So you're going to come up to Doug. Now, there are quests you can do in here, and you can run around and do a bunch of quests. You can stay in here for a while. I guess that's what I'm saying. Or you can get out to wherever it is you have to go, whatever city that you were bound to. So to do that, the first thing I do is we come up here. We're going to open up our inventory. We're going to give him a note, which you don't have to give it to him, but I would recommend that you do that because it completes your very first quest. You can see down here we got some experience for the experience bar. That's nice. They're going to give you a bunch of things you can continue. It says, right, he likely will provide you with the next step in your quest. So you could do that. But we're not going to do that. We're actually going to leave. And to leave, you simply come here. You type in send right down here. Hit enter. And Doug is going to send you on your merry way. Glade now. And here we are. Okay. There we go. And there's the Druid Guildmaster and all these people. So now we are here. I always thought this was one of the cooler starts. I always love this start, by the way. And Druid was my main class in the original race class combination in the original EverQuest. So this brought back a lot of memories playing this again. All right, so we did that. So now we're out here, and that's how you get out of the tutorial. Now, very important new thing that they've added, which is really cool. They have added a. Let's actually switch the loadouts real quick. I wanted to switch this. Let's go back to the warrior. Okay. And the necromancer. Okay. So they've added this thing called stances and invocations. And these do a lot of different things. The basic premise of this is that the warrior gets certain stances. And so you can see here, if I click over this, I get a balanced stance. All incoming damage is reduced by 10%, and your chance to hit is increased by 10%. So that's kind of important. That's a good one. But you can also, since you also have an invocation stance that you can be in, and these are mainly for casters. So you can see here. Let's look at some of these. Channeler stance. Yeah, that's a good one. Let's go. I like this one. This arcane. The spell and recovery times are reduced by 20%. So that's an invocation. You can see right there, arcane mastery. Now here's the key. You can only be in 2 of these at the same time. Okay, so let's say we wanted to go to a defensive stance. Okay, we want to reduce the physical damage. Right now we're in the balanced stance. How do we know that? Well, come over here and look at this. It says balanced stance. But let's say we're in some trouble. And by the way, you can activate these at any time, and they will stay on permanently until you get rid of them. So right now I'm permanently in the balanced stance. But let's say we wanted to switch to a defensive stance. We had a big fight or something. We needed to, the mob was hitting really hard. Let's switch to that. It'll tell you, you begin to change your stance. You assume a defensive stance. And now you can see this is updated to a defensive stance. But let's say, since we're also a spellcaster, we want to reduce, let's pick something else here. Cast spells. Let's see. You regenerate mana twice as fast, and spells have a 5% reduced. Okay, so let's do this one. Recovery, and we're actually already in it. So you can see that it says recovery. So let's switch to a different one. Let's find. Let's go to arcane mastery. That's fine. I actually kind of like this one. I do use this one actually the most. So let's hit that, and you can see now we're in that. So these will stay on permanently, like I said, until you decide to switch them. And this is sort of the interesting part of this aspect. You may have different fights, different areas you're in that may require these to be a little bit different. So look through these. You can decide what you want to be, but that's how these work. This is how you can tell if you're in a stance. Most of the stances are warrior or your tank based. Most of the invocations are spell based, but not all of them are that way. I should say that there are some stances that you can get. I think you have to look around here. Like here's a channeler stance, so you can see that. So that actually is mostly for casters, not warriors. So you can see some of them do have are actually applicable to casters. But for the main thing, I think you want to have one for your tank and one for your caster. So that's how those work. You can actually drag those, and I actually don't. I close this out on my normal guys that I'm playing, and you can actually drag those. So if we go, wait a minute, how did I? Oh, you hit L. I'm sorry. You hit L, and you can drag these in. This can be a little funky sometimes when you're. There we go. So you had it. Wait, no, I thought I just. This can be funky. Why am I not? I think you got to left click and hold it down. Okay, I'm having issues doing this now. You will get it. I don't know why I'm not able to. Or maybe you need to. I think you need to hold it. Yes, you need to left click and hold it down for a while. But you can drag these into your action bar, which I do actually. I drag and I close this. I don't like all of this because I only use like a couple of these that I really like. Now, if you're using all of these and you find that you want to if you're using all these all the time, by all means keep this open. But if you're not, I usually just drag a few of these over. Okay, and that's the same thing. You can drag, the different, you can drag, like if you want camping over here, you can drag these. I do recommend you make a second action bar. I've sort of filled mine up. I don't think, sometimes I have a second action bar, sometimes I don't. But I just wanted to show you that you can actually drag those, which is very useful. The other thing, let's actually head over to a character I've just started, and let's do that. And we'll go there, and we'll come back. Okay, so we are back. This is a character that I am currently playing. This is a Necromancer Cleric combination. Probably not the best solo combination. I probably will add a warrior as my third class, but and I'll get that at level 11. This guy currently is just a lowly level 3. But one thing I did want to kind of show you is one other thing I want to talk about is the use of the map, which is very useful. Unfortunately, it doesn't seem to remember the map, so every time you have to come back in, when you come back in, you have to reopen it. But when I do, I usually put it down here in the corner, and if you open this up, you'll see exactly where you're at. I like to actually keep this open most of the time because you never really will get lost, but it's kind of nice. Actually, I should rephrase that. I don't always keep it up. You can minimize it right here, and then when you need it again, you can just expand it out. You can see where you're at. So I find that very, very useful. And again, just minimize it. For some reason, I don't know if I'm doing something. There's some. Well, I don't know if there's a way to pin this permanently, but when I log out and I come back in, this is gone. All the rest of these screens are here. I have to hit the M key and then drag this right here. It's kind of a pain, but since I'm playing for usually an hour at a time, it's not too much of a pain. I usually will. I will say this. I usually put the map over things I'm not using a lot. So now I probably should move my action bar over here. That's probably not a good idea to cover that. But I usually only keep this up if I need to see where I'm going. And you can zoom in and out of here, so you can see if we wanted to get over to West Commonlands, which is actually where we're kind of running to. It's kind of useful. So you can zoom in, zoom out. Very easy to use. Just minimize this. And that is... that's sort of important to see. Okay, so I'm actually going to hit the pause button for a minute, and we're going to run to Befallen, because I want to show you the next biggest thing in this game. Other than the classes, this was a huge thing that they've done. They've added instances, so we need to talk all about instances. Okay, we are back, and we are at the very famous dungeon, Befallen, the starter dungeon. This is one of the first dungeons you'll come to if you haven't played EverQuest before. We are here in West Commonlands, but we're not here to go fight that dungeon. I'm too low. I actually got cranked on when I ran here. A Kodiak attacked me, and I was able to fear him. But nonetheless, the biggest change to this game, other than the multi-class system, is the difficulty, which you can access right here. I should point out there is a cooldown to this. I was just talking to this guy about it. He couldn't access it. I think he's wrong. I don't think this is glitched. There is a cooldown. So if I if I pick a difficulty and I change it, I can't do that for 5 minutes. He seems to be confused by this. I'm pretty sure this isn't glitched. I'm pretty sure he just didn't see the message. There is actually a message that says it right here. I had it. Yeah, so you can see it's saying that I can't do this because I've already, I got to wait 5 minutes. But nonetheless, there is a 5-minute cooldown. So for instance, if you switch let's go here first. And this isn't a big thing, the cooldown, but if you switch a difficulty, you can't do it for another 5 minutes. Now, what are difficulties? Okay, so once again, let's back up. You just hit this. Oh, I thought I closed this. So you hit the difficulty. You pick a difficulty right here. We'll talk about instance in a second, but first let's talk about pick difficulty. So you hit the pick difficulty, and the first thing it's going to tell you is the current zone you're in. We're in West Commonlands. We're just in the normal difficulty, and there are 8 players here. Now, let's say that you wanted to increase the difficulty of this zone. You just want a little bit more challenging thing going on. You can actually select this. You can see there's 0 players in here. I'm not going to do this right now, but you can actually select. We could go down to the hardest, which is, I think they call this D4, but difficulty 4. So you can actually go to the hardest one. Now, keep in mind, I do want to point out one thing. If you are in a zone right now and you select one of these, it will load you into this version of it, this difficulty, but it will send you to the beginning part of the zones. So for instance, if I select this, I'm going to go, I think I'm going to, if we open up the map here, I think it's going to toss me all the way to the beginning of East, it's gonna, I think it would put me over here near the East Commonlands border. I think that's where it put me. So just keep that in mind. Not a big deal. And if you're already near the beginning of the zone, no big deal. In fact, that's where I kind of recommend you do those switches when you're when you first enter the zone, so you're not disorientated, I guess I would say, put it that way. But again, these are the difficulty ratings, very simple thing. Okay, now here's the huge change. It's even bigger, is that you can actually create your own private instance now. And it will give you the ability, by the way, to select these difficulties if you want to as well. We're going to show that. What does this do for you? Well, we're going to talk about that as well. Let's actually close this out now. Now, the instances are very, I don't usually pick for like one of just the open zones. I don't usually create an instance. Where this is useful, though, is if you want to get your own private version of, in this case, Befallen, your own version of Befallen. So we're going to go in here. Okay, so you can see there's all these people, and they're just doing, this is the main server, right? So if we hit pick difficulty again, we come in here, you can see where there's 8 people in here. It looks like most of them are congregated up here. And we've got 8 people. Now, you can see that the rest of these are full of people now. So basically, any of these difficulties I select, there's going to be somebody there. What a pain that is, right? But we want our own private version. Now, it's not that you can't go here, you could go here, but there's going to be some people here. And you have to be careful when you're in here. I will say, like somebody, they might already have, they might be working out who's going in there. So you don't want to be the guy that goes in here and messes up this poll. You don't want to be that guy, because you will get very unpopular very quick. So they probably already have a arrangement worked out about who's going in here first and who's doing the, their groups and stuff. So again, don't just walk in here and start killing things. You'll get unpopular pretty quick. And that's what the problem was. And this is the point I want to make. This was the problem with the original EverQuest, is I had to come in here now and wait and figure this out with other people. What a pain that is. Or somebody might be camping some really good item, like in who knows, in some dungeon there's some room, and they're just sitting in there camping that and getting that gear. Maybe it's like a 50 or a 25% drop, so they didn't get it the first time, and you're just sitting there forever waiting. Now you don't have to do that anymore. You can create your own private instance. And what does that mean? Well, that means now we can go to difficulty, we can go to create instance, and here we go. I can now actually make my own instance. We can set the difficulty. If you want to go to 1, 2, 3, 4, you can do that. We're just going to set it to normal. You can actually set it to multiplayer. So you could invite other people. I think that's the way that works. You have to invite. I haven't actually done that yet, but I believe you can actually invite people to come to your instance. But I'm just going to select it to solo. Now, here's the thing. I don't think this is a huge thing, but what does this mean? There's 2 current charges. So what that means is I can't just keep creating instances, going out of an instance. And I forgot to mention, if I create an instance here, and we are going to create it, and I leave, I am out of that instance now. So just keep that in mind. If you're in a instance and you go out of the zone, you will go back to the public, I like to call it the public instance. So just keep that in mind. But you only get 2 of these every 30 minutes. Is that really a big deal? No, because it's probably going to take you more than 30 minutes to do whatever it is you're doing here. So I rarely hit this number. I don't think this is a big deal, but just keep that in mind. There are only 2 charges. So again, this helps you now. Now we can get our own version of Befallen, and we can go ahead and do that. Let's hit create, and you'll see all these people now will disappear. We will be in our own instance, and nobody can come in and steal gear from us or camp everything. It's going to ask you if you want to create your solo instance. Here we go, 6. Take a little bit. It actually does take a little bit. So we're just, no, we'll let it go. And there you can see, I am now in my own private instance of Befallen. How awesome is that? That is a huge change to this game. And it really adds, I think, to the solo and group experience. If you want to have a group of people and you want to do your own thing, how cool is that? I don't have to sit here and wait. You can still see the messages from other people throughout the other instances, I guess I would say. You can still see that. But you have now your own instance of Befallen. Now, let's hit the difficulty thing again. We can manage this, by the way, too. So you can quit the instance, but usually I just quit it by leaving the zone. But let's go back to let's just exit it now. Let's go back out to West Commons. You're going to see now. So now I'm back out into what I like to call the public instance. If I come here and hit the difficulty, pick difficulty, you can see we're just back out in the normal instance. I will say that I don't start, you could start a private instance out there, but I don't really see the point of that. If you want, especially if you're going to a different difficulty, I mean, yeah, you might want to do it, but I normally save the private instances just for the dungeons. But you could start a private instance out here. Normally, what I like to do out here is create like a more difficult scenario. And in this case, you can see nobody's in there. So why would you start? If, for instance, let's say, hey, I want to go to adaptive difficulty. Why would I start a private instance of that when there's nobody there right now? Okay, so you could just go here out into the public version of it, as I like to call it. All right, that is it for this video. Thanks again for watching, and I hope you really enjoy the new reimagined EverQuest. Let me know if you do in the comments. Let me know how you like the game. Let me know anything else that's on your mind. Thanks.